Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry at the Movies. Last time I talked about Mel Gibson and scandals and celebrities and TMZ, and prior to that I reviewed the 20-year-old version of Captain America. And I said I would review Catfish, and I will, not just yet, but I will do that. I'm still doing a little more research on the filmmakers themselves. I'd written a review, but anyway, I will review the film in the next show. But this time out, I want to talk about Martin Scorsese. As some of you might know, all you film fans out there and Scorsese fans, he has a new film coming out called Hugo, coming this fall. And it's based on a novel with a lot of illustrations called The Invention of Hugo Cabret, I believe is how it's pronounced, I'm not sure. Anyway, it deals with a 12-year-old orphan living in Paris in a train station, and he has no home. That's his home, basically, I assume. And he is looking for solving the mystery of his late father, and there's an automaton of some kind, or a robot, that he has, and that's really all I really know about this picture, aside from the fact that I believe Ben Kingsley plays George Méliès, the pioneer of one of the pioneers of filmmaking from the beginning of the 20th century. Trip to the Moon, a lot of people, of course, would know what that film is, with the famous shot of the rocket that hits the moon, and the moon has a human face. Anyhow, Hugo is due for release, and it is shot in 3D, and that's the latest phase. 3D has had many, has come and gone since the 1950s, so it's sort of back in a major way now, longer than it did during the 80s. Anyway, the point is that I've been reading comments, as I always do, from people regarding Hugo, Martin Scorsese fans for the most part, and some film fans, on the Internet Movie Database. And they are appalled that he's doing this film, which had been announced a year ago anyway, and that he's shooting it or had shot it in 3D, and that it's a children's film. Now, just from that description alone that I gave you, about a 12-year-old orphan living in a train station, doesn't exactly strike me as a Pixar picture, although Pixar does have its shades of darkness on occasion, in particular the movie Up, which I really recommend, and Toy Story 3, which certainly had some tough moments in it, and toys in jeopardy or children in jeopardy is always a frightening thing. But what they're appalled is the fact that he's making a children's film, and that it's not a mob film, or that he's not doing a mob film, although there were rumors that he was going to do a mob film based on a book called They Painted Houses, with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Joe Pesci. I mean, that would be really something to see. But people need a little education on Martin Scorsese's career. This was a man who didn't exactly start making gangster pictures. In fact, he's not primarily known for them. So let's quickly run through the film, shall we? There's Who's Knocking on Your Door from 1967, originally called I Call First. Then he did Boxcar Bertha. Now that's not a gangster picture. The first film was sort of about small-time hoods, so I guess there's something gangsterish about it. He did Boxcar Bertha, which is set in the Depression era, and it's sort of a Bonnie and Clyde story that was produced by Roger Corman. Then he did Mean Streets, which again deals with small-time level hoods and one particular gangster or godfather. Then he did Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Now that's not a gangster picture at all, with Alan Burstyn. Then he did Taxi Driver, which is not a gangster picture. Then The Last Waltz, New York, New York, Raging Bull, and The King of Comedy. It's amazing how a lot of people leave those films out of the equation. They see him as a gangster filmmaker, but he's actually done very few films about gangsters. So we have Who's That Knocking on My Door, deals with small-time hoods. Mean Streets could technically be about gangsters. Goodfellas. Now, from 1973 to 1990, that's a huge jump. Following Goodfellas was Casino, and then later The Departed, which deals with gangsters but also with the police. So that's not much to characterize this man as only a gangster filmmaker or filmmaker of mob stories, of which he did some of the best that's ever been done, certainly. But he's done a variety of films. He did The Age of Innocence, which was based on an Edith Wharton film. I remember at the time my friend Jeff had said that this was a film that if David Lean directed it, nobody would have thought twice. They would have said he was a perfect director for it. But Martin Scorsese just seems odd. And yet that's the film that Scorsese considers his most violent film, which is The Age of Innocence. Which, by the way, deals with human cruelty more than you might think. He also did Kundum. He did The Last Temptation of Christ. New York Stories. He directed one of those vignettes set in New York City with Nick Nolte as a painter. Again, he's done a wide variety of films. He's not primarily known for gangster pictures. And Shutter Island is certainly a thriller. Cape Fear was a thriller. So, you know, and Shutter Island is set on a mental institution on an island that looks like something out of the Hammer horror film genre or Universal monster flicks. You know, it has that atmosphere. Shine a Light, which is a documentary about the Rolling Stones. The Last Waltz, which is about the band and their last concert together. He also did No Direction Home, the story of Bob Dylan, which is a documentary. He did also another documentary called, I believe, American Prince, which I think can be viewed on YouTube, and one of these days I'll discuss that picture. But he's done such a wide variety of films. To classify him as a gangster filmmaker is to lose sight of what it is, what his output has really been. In particular, Bringing Out the Dead, which some compare to Taxi Driver. But Bringing Out the Dead is really a film about compassion, more than anything else, set in a very hellish New York of the 1990s, but nonetheless, that's what it is. It's about compassion, which it shares with Kundum. And The King of Comedy, I mean, there's hardly anything gangster about that picture at all. So, really, when people come out and say those things, it makes no sense. And also, when they mention mostly his macho-istic type pictures, his violent ones, more than his other films, it goes to show that they probably have not seen much of his other type of films at all. So I would say, everyone, please give Hugo a chance. I mean, I'd like to see it. Something new from Scorsese is better than the same old thing, which he's not normally done. He hasn't really done the same old thing. You could say, you could make all these parallels between Casino and Goodfellas, but there are a lot of differences between them. Bringing Out the Dead and Taxi Driver are different from each other. Kundun and Last Temptation of Christ might be similar because of their spirituality, but Last Temptation is a different kind of picture altogether. So I would say, please, give Hugo a chance. A new film is interesting from Scorsese, any type of subject. But I think that Hugo might be more sobering than most other children's films. And also, children's films in general can be dark. Wizard of Oz has its moments, not to mention The Dark Crystal, The Black Cauldron. I mean, there are a lot of Alice in Wonderland, the Disney version. Tim Burton's is much darker, I think. But in general, Scorsese has been a very versatile director. So his versatility speaks volumes. It's not like he's made one gangster picture after another or made a sequel to Raging Bull. This is a very versatile filmmaker, so give him a chance. I would say I'd look forward to Hugo. I mean, even if he was doing, I don't know, Halloween, I would still be interested in seeing his version, his take on it. But he's a very personal filmmaker who goes for his own interests and generally gets the funding for them, so that's a good thing, and that's what we should look forward to. So anyway, next time I'll review Catfish. Until then, this is Jerry the Movie signing off.